Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for ignoring my daughter for almost 6 months after she sided with my ex-husband when he cheated? 6 months ago, my ex reunited with the one that got away when he was out with our daughter. He was acting weird and melancholy after meeting her, so our daughter asked about her and he told her about their tragic love story, which is literally just their parents being against their relationship. My daughter, who was a hopeless romantic, was deeply moved by their love story and pushed his dad to pursue his ex and cheat on me. And well, he cheated and I found out. The day I found out about my ex cheating was a blur. I was crying so hard that day that I barely even understand what they were saying. But I remember my daughter saying, "Mom, Dad made us happy for years. It's time for him to be happy too." I honestly would have laughed if she said that to me today, but at the time, I was crying so hard it didn't register how ridiculous she was. When we separated, our daughter declared she was staying with me, patting my ex on the shoulder and saying, "I'll take care of her, Dad, don't worry." I just rolled my eyes at the time because I was no longer speaking to them both. The first day my ex was gone, she surprised with breakfast in bed, which I shoved down on the floor in front of her. She cleaned it without complaint, and after that day, I started locking my door to avoid such incidents. She cooks for me all the time, and every time she did, I just ignore it. In fact, I didn't eat much at the time, because my ex would often come by and drop off groceries. Whenever the hunger gets too unbearable, I would order delivery and eat in my room. Fast forward to 3 months, my ex came crying back, saying I was actually the one he loves. Which I honestly predicted, because although he was very much hung up on the past, he was very sweet and loving to me. Our marriage was literally something out of a movie. Even after 17 years of marriage, we still acted like newlyweds. Date nights every weekend, cuddles, and playing video games together. We never even fought, we just banter playfully. The day he came back, he told me how they always fought, about how she wasn't as understanding and loving as me, about how he missed my cuddles and playing video games with me. Of course, I just ignored him. After that day, he started staying at our house. He tried to sleep in our room the first night, but I stood up and slept in the living room. After that, he started sleeping in the guest room. That day too, I remember my daughter telling me, as she sat with me on the living, "Aren't you glad, Mom, Dad is back? We're gonna be a family again." I would have laughed at her face if I wasn't busy treating her like air. After that day, they started doing everything to make it up for me. My ex even started bringing me home flowers every day. They gave me gifts, cooked and cleaned for me, and all the while, I just kept ignoring them, not uttering a single word. 3 days ago was the first day my daughter confronted me. Which is probably because it was her 17th birthday. I used to make homemade cakes for her and decorate the house depending on what her current interest is. That day she was crying in the kitchen, and I just ignored her and walked past her to get coffee. She started talking to me, asking me why I couldn't forgive them. She told me I was being cruel, that they already did everything they could. She cried and cried, telling me all the stuffs we used to do on her birthday, about how happy we were, about how she wants to go back to that. That day I looked at her for the first time in 6 months and I felt nothing. I wasn't moved or anything by her tears. I didn't feel anger or hurt. I didn't feel sorry for what I did. After we stared at each other for a while, I just went back to my room without talking to her. That day was also the day my parents came and talked to me. They're trying to get me to forgive my ex and daughter. They never asked me before to forgive them. They said the same things my daughter said, that I was being cruel. When I confided to my best friend, she told me that maybe it's time to forgive them. That my daughter was still so young and she made a mistake, but she's still my daughter. In all honesty, I don't feel like I did anything cruel, since they were the ones who betrayed me first. And although I'm not mad anymore, I honestly don't feel anything for them anymore, and I feel like it's just a hassle to even try and be family with them. But people I know are insisting I just forgive them. Am I really the one being cruel here? What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for leaving without paying? Almost every Friday, my friends and I would go out to eat or grab a drink. I've known Jenny since high school, and I never liked her. She used to never bring lunch and expected everyone to share their food with her. I always told her no because I wasn't going to go hungry for her sake. If it had been a real need, I wouldn't have minded, but she would always say things like, "I didn't bring lunch today because I didn't want to carry extra stuff." When someone suggested she buy something, she'd replied that she was saving money. On top of that, she had disgusting table manners. She'd burp loudly at the table, and when someone stopped eating, she'd say, "Oh, you're not going to finish that," and devour their food without asking. That was when I stopped eating lunch with them. Over time, I stayed in touch with the group but only joined outings when Jenny wasn't invited. A few years ago, I moved to the city, and after a high school reunion dinner, we reconnected as a group. I'd forgotten all about Jenny, but over time, she ended up being included again. This time, she would order food, but when it was time to pay, she'd conveniently forget her wallet, leaving us all to split the bill evenly. This happened 3 times, and by the 4th, before we even ordered, I told everyone I'd be paying for my meal separately. Someone asked why, and I said I wasn't going to chip in for someone else's shrimp while I was eating chicken and salad. Jenny stayed silent. When the bill came, no one wanted to cover Jenny's portion, and they asked me to help. I refused. Everyone was upset, but I'd already warned them. The following week, Jenny didn't order any food. Instead, she got up for a moment, and when the servers brought the dishes, they handed her a set of utensils. She then announced that she'd just take a little bit from everyone's plates. I made it clear I wasn't participating. Some people were annoyed, so I offered to sit at another table if it was a problem. They didn't say anything else after that. Later that week, some people in the group complained that they'd left the meal still hungry because Jenny had eaten from their plates. Meanwhile, she bragged about how full she was. Some even blamed me for separating my bill, saying it contributed to the problem. I told them I wasn't going to go out with them anymore as long as Jenny was there. Her behavior at the table was disgusting, and I wasn't going to pay evenly split bills anymore. I suggested they meet without me. One of them apologized and asked me to join another dinner, assuring me that Jenny wouldn't be there. Everything seemed fine until Jenny showed up. I rolled my eyes, stood up to leave, but my friend stopped me and asked me to stay. Someone else moved their seat to put distance between me and Jenny. We ordered, and when the food arrived, Jenny got up, walked over to me, grabbed 2 pieces of salmon from my plate, and said, "See? The world doesn't end if you share." I looked at everyone, got up, and left without paying. Afterward, they kept calling me because I was supposed to give a few of them a ride home, but I didn't answer. In the group chat, I told them all to go to hell and left the group. Some messaged me, saying I should at least pay for my meal. I told them to have whoever ate it pay for it. What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for refusing to give my husband the cash I got back from a present he asked me to return? For context, my husband, 46 years old, got into a terrible cycling accident last year. He suffered from a punctured lung requiring a chest tube, 3 broken ribs, and a broken clavicle. He spent 5 days in the hospital. It was really scary for all of us. He is finally back on the bike and training again. The kids and I worked really hard for his birthday present this year. We wanted it to be something to recognize how proud we were of him getting back on the bike. It's important to mention that when asked what he wanted for his birthday, he would tell us, "I don't need anything." By we I mean me because our kids are both under the age of 7, got him a Garmin Varia, which is a bike radar and camera that provides a taillight, visibility to approaching cars, and notifies the biker of approaching cars. Total cost was $500. We gave it to him last night, and it was pretty obvious he did not want it. This morning he asked me to return it. I'm pissed about his ungrateful reaction, but that's another conversation. Later on today, he informs me that he will just take the $500 cash amount as his present instead. I told him hell no. He doesn't want the gift, fine, but I'm not giving him the money, especially with how ungrateful he was for the original gift. He's saying I'm the bad person, and that it's his gift and therefore his cash. So AITA for not giving my husband the cash that I'm getting back for returning the gift he didn't like? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.